If you're in business, you probably have a website, but can your site handle your growth? How many visitors before your site slows down or crashes? What about storage and data security? From web hosting to virtual servers, Pair Networks provides the online infrastructure you need to start, grow, and flourish. When it comes to security and updates, don't worry, we've got you covered. Our 24/7 US-based customer support is the best in the industry. No frustrating chatbots or sitting on hold for hours. Check out pair.com today to learn more. That's PAIR.com.
Attention Talking Simpsons listeners, we have a special mini-series just for you.
We're going through the entire first season of King of the Hill, and you can only hear it if you're a $5 and up patron at patreon.com/Talking Simpsons.
We're giving the Talking Simpsons treatment to all 13 episodes of King of the Hill's first season, and if you want a free sample, you'll find the first episode available for free in the Talking Simpsons feed. Patreon.com/Talking Simpsons. It's the only place you'll find the first season of Talk King of the Hill.
Made you go click, 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 click. It's real easy, man.
Cartoons from present in the past. Every week will be an animated bash. What a cartoon! What a cartoon! Maybe a short but mostly shows. We'll talk, we'll analyze, exploring as we go. What a cartoon! What a cartoon! What a cartoon!
Hello everybody and welcome to What a Cartoon, where we support eco-terrorism via children's entertainment. I'm your host, the rude with crude Bob Mackey, and this is an audio exploration of every cartoon ever. Who is here with me today?
Sweet imperialist dog, Henry Gilbert.
Today's cartoon is the Captain Planet and the Planeteers episode, A Hero for Earth.
Looting and polluting is not the way. Hear what Captain Planet has to say. The power is yours.
That's a lot of responsibility.
He put, this is the anxiety that our generation went through. We had the power put in our hands.
You fix it.
It's up to you.
I turned the water off when I'm brushing my teeth.
This is getting ahead of ourselves. I had that same anxiety my whole life. I was just like, Captain Planet would be mad if I didn't turn off the water as fast.
Stuff like this has filled me with such guilt and anxiety. I'll tell you one thing that happened before we start this discussion about the cartoon is that when I come to record with you at your place, I'm always chewing gum. Mm-hmm. And yesterday, I took the gum out of my mouth. There's one garbage can I always put my gum into on the way over here. It's now a ritual for me. And I took the gum out of my mouth and I threw it and missed the garbage can. And I was like, who cares? And I'm almost to your apartment. I'm like, I have to go back. I have to go back and throw the gum away.
Oh, my God.
And I did.
Wow, man.
Also, it was not where anyone could have stepped on it, but I was like, but it's litter.
Wow, that's how much this stuff worked. Their plan worked on this show.
Something new to be anxious about. Thanks, Captain Planet.
Yes, only 90 kids will remember this one. But yeah, Captain Planet, it's our pick. I mean, we just missed Earth Day. Belatedly caring about the Earth is the theme of Captain Planet, so it's a worthy tribute to it.
Yes.
I watched a shitload of Captain Planet as a kid. I then grew to think it was silly and a joke, and now I feel I like it more now than then, but also rewatching this, I was like, this show is boring.
It's very boring.
It feels like homework.
We'll talk a lot about it, but it's struggling with what it wants to say and what it can say, and it's all very confused. But yeah, when I was growing up, this show was not a favorite of anyone's. I don't know if you're out there listening, did you like this show? Because this show had the misfortune to debut in 1990. If this show came on in like 1985, people would watch it and enjoy it. People, I mean children. This show debuted the same year as things like Tiny Toons, where cartoons were turning the corner and becoming self-aware and smarter. This is very much a show from the 80s in 1990. Even in 3rd and 4th grade, when the show was on the air, kids in my grade school were making fun of it. Like, this is lame. This is a very lame show.
Yeah. Well, and it wants to be so hip and cool and really talk to the kids in the way you fat kids do it too, PHAT. But I think too, it hurts Captain Planet that it's kind it's just so earnest. It really does. Like ironic people or the snarky, cynical people, only the villains and Wheeler, who is always wrong. Like those are the only people you're supposed to want to be the earnest people who love things like Kwame and Guy.
Yeah, I made a joke up front. This is a show that tacitly supports eco-terrorism and anti-capitalism. But it can't it has a problem processing those thoughts where it's like, wait a minute, are we saying, I guess we're saying this, but let's have fun cartoon characters do this and then tell kids to turn off the lights.
Yeah, well,
Hoggish Greedy paid for that land, all right? Hoggish Greedly, sorry.
Well, that's an interesting line that they walk on the show, is because Hoggish Greedly, all these people, they are super villains who most of them, I think Loot and Plunder actually does work through the system, but most of them are villains who are like, what Hoggish does in this episode is not legal. He is breaking the law.
That's true.
So he is a criminal.
The police should be there.
I mean, they're not gonna be, but
there are no cops in this world.
It'd be too depressing on the show if they summon Captain Planet. He's like, well, he did get the land deals from the senator of this state, so I can go fight him in the courts if you want. Probably not going to do any good though. He's got powerful lawyers. That's depressing.
Yeah.
So, but their way around those tough issues is that they just make the person doing it a supervillain, not heartless CEO who, like, Hoggish Greedly cares more than any CEO in the world. Like,
that's true.
He's very invested.
That is true. Yeah, just watching this episode, it's about oil and drilling, and it reminds me of just like what 30 years later is, where journalists are arrested for covering protests of oil drilling.
It's the main message of this podcast, I think, will be things have only gotten worse since the 90s, and this show...
There have been bigger disasters environmentally.
Yeah, this show could not prevent it. This show was made with the explicit thing to fix this, and our generation didn't do it. And I mean, but that, I don't blame us. I blame companies.
It really sucks to think that people that don't believe in climate change are kind of winning in a way, where growing up, it's like, yeah, global warming's real. Of course it is. Yes, no one is disagreeing with this. And if they are disagreeing, I'm not hearing them. But now it's just like there are all these, devil's advocates, not being paid by anyone, saying, well, what about climate change? And it's just like, I feel like we're having these conversations I thought were over.
Yeah. Or, well, I mean, I almost like that faux intelligentsia more than the message we get from our current president, who I feel like his message is just like, look, we are just fucked. Like, let's just enjoy these 30 years before it's all over. Let's make as much money as we can before that. I'd rather the lying, at least an attempt to lie.
Yeah.
Like, once you see that the president doesn't even care, by the way, like, our president is a villain of this show. Like, he's the exact type of villain.
He's a pig monster.
He's a pig monster. Yeah, he's kind of Verminous Scrum meets Hoggish Greedly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised that there is not a Trump-style character, like a parody of Trump on the show, because Trump parodies were huge in this era. Like, the villain of Gremlins 2 is Donald Trump.
Well, there's a lot of villains in the show, so maybe we missed one. That's
true. There could be like a future Trump villain.
But a choice they made on this show was, though, that they said this in interviews, like, they wanted to make the villains super villains because, say, it was about deforestation and you made it just a logging company, then what if a kid watching's their dad works for the logging company? They'll feel bad. But also it's a way that doesn't challenge power as much. If you said Exxon is the enemy on this show, you'd be getting a lot of shit from Exxon.
Yeah.
But if you say a guy who drills oil who looks like a pig is it, then that's who the villain is, not Exxon.
It's more about dealing with the byproducts of pollution than stopping pollution by, curtailing polluting by giant capitalist organizations.
Yes,
it's like, let's just clean up after the pollution. No, why don't we stop it? It's like, oh, we can't do that. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, and another message of the show that does rankle me today in those Planeteer alerts at the end of everyone, like, here's what you can do. It's like, I think it's very important that they tell viewers, kids, here's how you can help things, like bring a reusable bag to the grocery store. Those are good tips. None of that can undo the damage of the 100 companies that make 71% of the pollution on Earth.
And again, this kind of positive brainwashing definitely worked on me. I'm filled with such guilt at every turn when I'm standing in front of those 3 garbage cans at a restaurant, like, oh God, what is composting? What can be recycled? Captain Planet is screaming in my brain.
You're just seeing Captain Planet judging you at all times. Yeah. So who's to say that this didn't work, even if it's a boring TV show? Like it did. And yeah, it's very much in the He-Man mold, which by 1990 had become very staid.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, even though like this was a top of the line production, though it was. But I guess why don't we go into the history before we talk any more about that? The history begins in 1963.
Wow.
Where Ted Turner inherits from his father a billboard business worth millions.
All hail Duke.
And in 1970, Ted Turner parlayed that money into purchasing the Atlanta UHF station that he soon renamed the Turner Broadcasting System.
It would become a super station, correct?
Yeah, I believe, America's first in the growing age of cable. You need content, and he was able to, along with I think WGN was the first, but TBS was the first of like, we have everything. We're a local channel that's to the rest of America, and so it broadcast Atlanta into the homes of everyone with a cable channel, which that involved Atlanta Braves baseball, among other things, as Bart told us. But yeah, Ted Turner is a really interesting person. Honestly, I hate billionaires. You listeners know this. They're all bad. But he is the one billionaire who was cool and did good things, even though his amount of wealth was clearly through the exploitation and stealing of labor of others. He at least gave a shit about it and felt guilty. And I think he's like the only one ever who felt guilty about it.
Yeah, I mean, we're going through different phases of billionaires where the early, barons of industry, they were Christians. So like on their deathbeds, they're like, oh shit, I got to get into heaven. Take all my money. And then like after that, maybe some weren't as religious, but they're like, death is the end of me. Take all my money. Now it's like, well, no, I will be put into a robot singularity when I die.
Yeah.
So I'll keep this all and be evil forever.
If you compare Ted Turner to Mark Zuckerberg, there's no comparison.
Yeah.
Ted Turner, what he is like, he is a crazy mouthy liberal is what he is. And he was always very like loud and proud about it. He's a real like Democrat of like...
So say Dixiecrat?
Dixiecrat implies the people who became Republicans, like Strom Thurmond.
Yeah.
He's the opposite of that. But yes, the Turner Broadcasting System launched in 1970. Turner understood a future of media like few others did because he knew that you don't license the content from other people and put it on your channel. You own the content and have full control over it, so you make the net profits off of that. He knew that when it came to inventing cable news with CNN, so thumbs down to Ted Turner there. But also with buying the MGM film library, with buying the Atlanta Braves, so only Atlanta Braves baseball would play on TBS, and WCW wrestling, the same deal. He owned all of that. Like he also, I mean, it goes without saying, then in the 80s, he really took advantage of weakened laws about conglomerated businesses and owning things.
Well, we don't care about those anymore.
Yeah, look, I mean, everybody did it. He is a like a morsel compared to Mickey Mouse these days. On TBS and soon later TNT and CNN, Turner understood that you need your own content to do it. And so he was one of the top content creators on top of being a broadcasting billionaire. So Ted also is a mouthy liberal, as I said before, who has many fun critical things he has said in the past about saying, bemoaning how America is the only industrialized nation that doesn't have universal health care.
Nice.
He complains about our many interventionist wars. He is very against media consolidation, though honestly that was after he was a huge cause of it up until 2001. He calls out Israel's right-wing government in its apartheid state, as he calls it. He calls out Jesus freaks, and he also is a big environmentalist and is super into the environment.
Did Jane Fonda lead him there?
You know, I think he was there before Jane Fonda.
They were married briefly?
Not so briefly.
I guess it was
a chunk of the 90s, I think. Yeah. Jane Fonda didn't do much other than being, she did a lot of stuff, but she didn't star in movies or Netflix original series in the 90s. When she was with Ted. His environmentalism even involved saying as recently as 2008 that global warming will kill us all and leave the remaining people to be cannibals, which I agree with that. I think he's onto something there.
I like that he jumped to cannibals.
All those facts about Ted Turner lead you to 1990, or really 89. It's finally starting to become apparent that the rampant industrialism of humanity is destroying the planet.
Oh, finally.
In the 1970s, there was kind of a new environmentalist push, but it felt like in the 80s it was just a celebration of consumption that led us to even more environmental catastrophe. So after those 80s, it definitely became a pet project for Ted Turner to create something that kids can learn about the environment on. Here's actually a clip of Ted explaining it.
And really, we decided to, but at that point, I got a woman named Barbara Pyle who worked with me in the environmental area, and I got her involved, and she and a fellow named Nick Boxer really produced the show. They took it to the next steps, but I came up with the idea of Captain Planet. You had to have a name for him, and Superman wouldn't do it, and it was already taken, so Captain Planet was a good name.
By Superman. I want my character named Superman. Listen, we referenced it earlier today, but Duke Phillips, obviously.
Yes.
Ted Turner is the real life basis for Duke Phillips. They both led amazing lives.
Yeah, though Duke Phillips is to the right of...
That is true, yeah.
That's also what I love about Ted Turner as a Southerner myself, that it is easy to look up to him as like he is this, twangy billionaire walking around with all the fancy billionaires talking about his Captain Planet.
Do you think he owns Hillbilly Bears? The special room in his mansion.
We're
the bears who sing for Ted.
Now that interview is about a decade ago. If you're like, boy, that's a lot of ums and uhs, keep in mind that now he is living a private life dealing with mental illness and senility.
Is he in his 80s, I guess, now?
Yeah.
Getting there.
He used to own more land than anybody in the world in one spot, but somebody outdid him recently. But he owns most of Montana right now on his bison ranch. But anyway, yes, it was a very megalomaniacal dream of Ted to create basically this propaganda that he would then host on his channels. But the idea just for him was like Captain Planet. He came up with this idea. Ted Turner said, Captain Planet, I want a show about that. Kids need a Superman, but it's the planet. And Captain Planet was all the idea he really had.
I want you to make this as convoluted as possible.
Well, I guess the convolution really came in with the two people he mentioned there, Barbara Pyle and Nicholas Boxer. So Barbara Pyle had a long history with Ted Turner. She was a photojournalist first.
Really? Okay.
But in 1980, she was photographing Ted during one of his final America's Cups, the sailing competition he won. Another part of the myth making of Ted Turner. And so he really liked her and was like, you get the environment, you and me, we see eye to eye on environmentalism. She was hired by Ted Turner to be his Vice President of Environmental Policy, which for most of the 80s meant she worked on environmental programming for TBS and CNN. Just a ton of original documentaries. Also did a lot of work with the UN and services with them for human rights, indigenous people's rights, and the environment, creating many original documentaries. Also with Jane Fonda too. She worked a bit with Jane Fonda on that stuff. So she was just a friend of Turner's who he put in charge of environmental stuff, and it was a major cause for her too. And one of her friends, or a coworker under her, Nicholas Boxer, she hired him to be like the lead story guy on this to help come up with more ideas. In 1989, when she was approached to do this kid program, it would be a typical action show with an environmental message for children. Nicholas Boxer and also producer Tom Beers were brought in to help develop the core concept, and Boxer is actually credited as the writer or co-writer of all 113 episodes of the series.
So you know it's good.
And Boxer is the facial design for Captain Planet.
Really?
He looks very similar
Handsome
to
man.
him. He's even joked in things like, yep, that was my haircut then too. All of that was me.
Power mullet.
And so Captain Planet was the idea of Ted Turner, but it was Pyle's idea, thanks to her work in the UN, she credits, that she wanted Captain Planet to work with a multinational, multicultural group of children called the Planeteers who would work under him, partially inspired by children she had met through her work in the UN. Now, when I talk about all this UN stuff along with climate change and trying to get America to be less destructive, I do feel like Dale Gribble in his the UN conspiracy, but maybe the Captain Planet was a giant UN conspiracy. There would be worse ones than trying to get us to destroy less things. So with the writers in hand, they hired a bunch of other folks who worked on pretty much every 80s animated series to work on this. And the core cast included Kwame from Africa, voiced by LeVar Burton. He had the power of Earth. Wheeler with the power of fire from New York City, voiced by Joey DiDio. Linka, voiced by Kath Soucie. She came from the Soviet Union, which would then be changed to Eastern Europe after a few episodes. That's why I'm glad we're doing this episode, because they do say Soviet Union in it, that the USSR still existed.
She corrects Wheeler, right?
Yeah, she does, yeah. Then there's there's Guy with the power of water. That's voiced by Janice Kawaye, who also does the voice of the lead character in the next week's episode of What a Cartoon. Then Mati, voiced by Scott Menville, a.k.a. Robin on Teen Titans.
And Kevin on Mission Hill.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Mr. Bling Blong himself.
Bling Blong. And then they worked for Gaia, voiced by Whoopi Goldberg, and then Margot Kidder, who is the spirit of Earth that empowers them with rings that can do all this stuff based on elemental things. And together they can create Captain Planet, voiced by David Coburn, not related to James Coburn, who also is a voice on the show.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So I was going to say, Henry, that I don't know what Japan's influence on this show is because many things remind me of an anime, not just the animation, but the very themed world they live in with the different elements and the summoning of a thing and the transformation sequence. I feel like those are all elements of anime.
And also Sentai, the live action shows too. No, I cannot say. The creators of the show don't really speak to that. I could definitely see Ted Turner coming to them to say, make Superman. And then they're like, well, this Voltron show is popular though. What if we had 5 kids? And also it makes it more, this is right after TMNT came out. So if you make a team of them, you can also sell more toys.
That's true.
Which this show is a very toyetic show as well.
I was curious about that. I don't remember Captain Planet toys, but selling toys would sort of defeat the purpose of the show.
You would think, wouldn't you? They did make a lot of toys, though. I'll get to that in a little bit.
It looks very toyetic. Like that thing that Hoggish Greedley has, I want that.
You're supposed to want the Planeteers thing. You're not supposed to think that villains are cool. The creation of Captain Planet by the Planeteers is also supposed to thematically represent how the viewers, who are also Planeteers, will bring their power together to create Captain Planet. That's why it's always important that Captain Planet points at you and said, the power is yours. I can't do these things actually, but your collective action results in that. Not really though, but and also though, what I didn't realize until I did some research on this, in a 1990 news story, early 1990, when this show was officially announced through a press release, they said the voice of Captain Planet is Tom Cruise. It said in there,
really?
Captain Planet is Tom Cruise.
Damn.
Like that's in the LA Times news article about this. And I cannot find why he dropped out. Did Scientology tell him not to? Or did he just not realize how much voice acting Captain Planet would have to do?
It could be that.
I mean, he's a busy man. And also, I mean, he screwed over The Simpsons too just by saying, I'm not going to do that.
And Nancy Cartwright was on the show. What's he thinking?
Yeah, he really, that shows you Nancy needs to up her Thetan levels.
She probably did after that.
But yeah, so Tom Cruise was supposed to be this guy. And honestly, they're lucky they got David Coburn because no way was Tom Cruise going to do this for 113 episodes.
No.
So may as well stick to a much more affordable but good voice actor. But who needs Tom Cruise in the star power role when every villain is a giant movie star of 1990? Why, we've got Hoggish Greedley of this episode, voiced by Ed Asner himself, knock on wood, still with us. We've got Verminous Scrum, voiced by Jeff Goldblum. Duke Nukem, not that one.
That always bothered me.
But he's voiced by Dean Stockwell of Quantum Leap.
Yeah.
We've got Luton Plunder, voiced by James Coburn, no relation to Captain Planet. Sly Sludge, voiced by Martin Sheen. And my favorite duo, Dr. Blight and Mal, voiced by Meg Ryan and Tim Curry.
She's a real babe.
She really is.
Just poured into that jumpsuit.
I think that's why she really, whenever they do the team up episode, she's always the one in charge. Like she just has a very dominant personality too. And then on top of that, Tim Curry just fucking rules. He rules in everything.
Yeah, he was really dominating the world of voice acting in the 90s on like frankly everything. I loved him as Duckman's nemesis, King Chicken.
Yes, yeah.
And those roles would always make him be another character because the thing was King Chicken was always in disguise. So it was Tim Curry doing another voice on the same show at the same time as being King Chicken.
And Mal's just a funny, every character's name is a pun as well, but Mal is my favorite because it's Hal, but with an M because he's malicious or has malintentions. So, but that was really where the show showed off. Like I think by being every episode being a very special episode, they were able to get commitments from every liberal actor at the time who was like, yeah, I care about the environment. Yeah.
You steal one pair of Hagar slacks, you pay for it for the rest of your life.
Well, and if there's one character, if there's something that's going to draw kids to your show, it's James Coburn. As I think Loot and Plunder is the least favorite name.
It's funny because they call that out in the end song.
Yes, yeah. Well, and that's James Coburn saying, "You pay for this, Captain Planet."
Okay.
It's always James Coburn.
Interesting. I was wondering who that was.
And as I said before, they invented those supervillains because they wanted the cause of environmental destruction to be more ridiculous in a heightened supervillain superhero comic book kind of style, because they didn't want to challenge power as much or also make kids sad if their parents worked for one of those companies. Which again, I'm like, boo fucking who?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
That
kids.
blood money is paying for your cereal, kids. I got to say, the show works on a weird level where high concept. It's sort of a stupid show. I mean, it is a stupid show with good intentions, but it's on a high concept thing where it's just like the environmentalism they're doing is so extreme. It's supposed to be a metaphor for the small things you can do at home, but also the people they're fighting in the show are the evil capitalists that are actually ruining the environment in roughly the same ways that real capitalists are doing it.
Yeah. They just don't look like pig people.
Yeah, well, some of them do, but...
Actually, they do, yeah. If they need to sell toys of the villains, then they can't just be man in suit 1, man in suit 3, woman in pantsuit. Like, they need to have a cool, eye-covering blonde hair or something. Yeah. The intended message was to simplify the ideas of ecological ruin via kiddie storytelling while still planting the seeds for kids to get a better understanding of environmentalism, being sure to give kids a list of solutions at the end of every episode that were called Planeteer alerts. And they did really, honestly, they did stick with me, but I don't know how much they really helped because, again, our planet is doomed.
But I turn off my lights before I leave the room every time.
I think of when I have the faucet running, I'm like, oh, man, Captain Planet, he's so mad. And also, every time I bring my reusable bag to the grocery store, I think Captain Planet would like this.
I'm doing the right thing. He's smiling up from heaven. He's dead now. Captain Planet is dead.
So the character designers on this were really hard to find. I actually asked friends of the show, Ian Jones-Cordy and Toby Jones, who they worked on a Captain Planet related thing we'll get to later. But I asked them, do you know where who did these? And they're like, actually, we couldn't track down any of the original character designs for the show. And I think that has to do with their partner in the matter. But the credited character designers are Don Greer, John Holm, Stephanie Piran, and Timothy Barnes. And there were many talented artists who worked under art director Vladimir Spasovchek. And there was also lead series director Jim Duffy. Though it's really hard to keep track of the artistic people on this because this was such an executive-driven show where it's just like, no, this is the Ted Turner show. Like in the credits, it's like, original idea thought up by Ted Turner. Like, who fucking needs to, that is ego on Ted Turner there, I would say.
And his idea was make me Superman.
Exactly. Yeah. It's if you remember the very funny series Garth Marenghi's Dark Place, every credit is him. He's every credit except when it's the music because he's not a musician. So it says music by this person, but then it says based on tunes hummed by Garth Marenghi. And that really feels like Ted Turner there too. Original idea came up with it's your channel, Ted. We know it was your idea. Do you have to put your name on this? But yes, Turner, at the time, though, in 1990, he owned many things, but he did not own animation production. So he partnered with the very notable and, trustworthy animation company Deke. Which always made kids giggle as a kid. And they started working on the typical 65-episode order, though they would stretch it out over 3 seasons of 26-ish for those 65 episodes, and that they would be run new on TBS, but also in first-run syndication across the nation. Now, Deke did a lot of overseas production on the show, including a Japanese studio called Studio Kurumi, and also I think a lot of it in the show is Dongwoo, the Korean production house. Though my personal bet on the amazing opening of the show.
The opening is legitimately good.
I think it's either Topcraft or Toei because it has a lot of the things. So when Wheeler melts a circle in the ground, that move is exactly in the X-Men pilot from 89 we watched. I think they just duplicate. If it was Toei, then they'd be duplicating the work they already did there.
It does feel Japanese. Also, in the version I watched on Amazon, I noticed that during one part of the opening, I believe when the emergence of Captain Planet happens, they darken the screen a bit. You could tell they thought of seizures. And then inexplicably, there is like a newer shot of Captain Planet put into the opening amid what looked like older footage.
Oh, okay. I missed
And
that.
I didn't understand that. I didn't know if they were covering up potential seizure-inducing footage that they couldn't darken. It was bizarre. I didn't know why.
But that opening is anime is all get
It
out.
is, yeah.
Like,
Outside of that one little tiny part.
I mean, it also really reminds me of Thundercats, the opening to that, which is also very anime.
It makes a show look way more exciting than it is.
And oh yeah, it's a gigantic lie, that opening. Like as they all were in the 80s. That's again, like you said, it makes this an 80s cartoon that exists into the 90s. And the episodes usually focused on ecological issues like oil spills or coral reefs getting killed or poaching or people not recycling. But they also would get involved in weightier topics, such as a very notable episode about HIV, the first animated series to ever deal with that. That episode had Neil Patrick Harris as the guest star of the HIV positive teen, which, wink, we get it now.
Was
Neil.
he was not out then, right?
He didn't come out until like 05 or 06, like after his first appearance in Harold and Kumar.
Okay.
It was after that he came out. I think somebody outed him too. I don't think he was coming out because he was playing very straight characters in both Harold and Kumar and on How I Met Your Mother. But anyway, yeah, the HIV episode, though that one is interesting because they have to make it very clear that the kid is not gay. Everybody's hating on him for being HIV, but they are not. They're more like, you're going to contaminate all of us.
Was it like a blood transfusion or something like that
Yes,
gone wrong?
they are explicit about that.
That was a story they would normally tell via children's entertainment if there was an AIDS story.
Well, because it's hard enough with AIDS. If you don't say out loud this person is straight, then it turns into a homophobia story, which they're even more afraid to tell children about.
Yeah.
So yeah, but there was that episode. There was an episode about drugs where they had to create a made-up drug called Bliss because they can't. If you do real drugs, it's harder to make up that like, oh, well, LSD will do this. Like, no, it won't. There's no stories of that.
Wasn't it put into Linka's burrito or something? I recall.
Linka, yeah. Linka gets addicted to it from her cousin Boris, who dies in the episode. Boris dies from Bliss, and she has to beat it. There's also one about one of the villains is amping up hatred across the world, heating up Israel versus Palestine and the IRA. Really? Yeah, they do a whole episode about that. I have heard that Irish people had a good laugh at the ridiculous accents of the people in the Troubles there. And also, there was an episode where they go back in time to sell nukes to Hitler. Dr. Blight does that.
Interesting. So Hitler is a character in this world.
In one episode.
Yeah.
They go back in time. Though that's really one of the most ridiculous things on the show is when they added time travel. There's like a dozen episodes that involve time travel.
Well, like looking at the premise, after you do like 6 issues, where do you go?
Yeah. They had to
make a time machine. Now they go into space.
And all those stories, though, show you a show that was very well-intentioned, but didn't always stick the landing because they were dealing with very weighty topics that they also had to make work for children. And so there was really, really hard to balance with those things. Also, like they did a gang episode. You want them to be able to deal with these topics for kids, but they can't handle it the right way because it has to have literal kids' gloves on it.
Well, I mentioned Tiny Toons came out the same year.
Oh, yeah.
And they were still also in the 80s cartoon mindset of, well, we will do like 5-issue episodes, but you could tell like even the characters didn't like being there or doing it, and they were a bit more smart-assy about it. They weren't so sincere about all of the issues they talked about.
But Captain Planet is obscenely sincere.
Yeah.
But it did preach a very like middle of the road, centrist liberal tolerance thing. But I mean, it did have a political position, but its political position was, peace, which can sound radical in our eternal war times we're in right now, where coups are just happening left and right. But yeah, so that was in the first 65 episodes. 1992, things changed for the show. 65 episodes is basically all you need, right?
If you're living in 1992.
But in 1992, Ted Turner made another purchase for $320 million. That's $600 million by today's standards, give or take. He purchased everything of Hanna-Barbera. And that's when he bought not just the new things they would make, but their entire film and television catalog of Hanna-Barbera. Ted Turner bought it, which would make the perfect keystone for the soon-to-launch Cartoon Network, his next cable channel.
I know he's a very smart businessman, but I like to think it was like a late-night drunken purchase. He was just drinking bourbon like, that Fred Flintstone makes me laugh. Just calls the right number.
But so, by purchasing Hanna-Barbera, one of the first projects he put H&B on was taking over production of Captain Planet from Deke. I think they also were getting tired of sharing it with Deke or sharing profits and all that. So even though they basically had enough to run it forever, Ted Turner's opinion was they need to double the amount of episodes. And so from 1993 to 1996, they would release 3 more seasons that would bring it to the 113 episode count.
God.
Which is insane.
That's a lot of Captain Planet. I had no idea until doing research there was that much.
Basically, no show gets that much. Like DuckTales didn't get that many episodes. It was one of the most popular shows then. Animaniacs didn't.
And when this was on when I was a kid, I was young enough to just watch trash. But at this time, I was becoming more self-aware and enjoying irony and stuff like that a lot more. So I would usually suffer through the end of Captain Planet or leave it on for like irony value while also having like a game magazine open at the same time. Like, what's going on in Nintendo Power? I can look at to distract myself.
You're just subliminally taking in the environmental messages. I would say the biggest change in animation, though some Captain Planet fans actually prefer the look of the H&B seasons over Deke, I think the animation is way too floopy and floppy. And just they are so harshly on model in Deke that when they go against that, it just looks amateurish, even though it is not, but it's just like it's wigglier. I just don't like it.
Listeners know our stance. It has to come from Japan or Korea to get our seal of approval.
Oh, I mean, they
or
were
both.
They were still sending it to Korea as well.
Just they're sending worse drawings.
Yeah, that's what it felt like there too. Though also, if Hanna-Barbera was a studio in transition, so if they didn't handle it well because of that, very understandable too. But now the production was back under Ted's wing, so he could do pretty much everything in it. Of course, while the lead characters all stayed the same, the other voice actors got a lot more affordable. Most of the villains got replaced with voice acting lifers who are very talented, like Maurice LaMarche and Mary Kay Bergman.
R.I.P.
As well as as well as Margot Kidder replacing Whoopi Goldberg as Gaia, the Spirit of Earth. Also, they got an orchestral score that replaced the kind of synthy score that you get in this show.
The score is so 80s. It's glorious.
And the show got even more insider gags, including one episode where a television executive named Fred Lerner decided he wanted to make a Captain Planet TV show.
Wow.
And he looks and talks just like him too. So if you ask Ted Turner at least and Barbara Pyle, the show did fantastic ratings in its early years, one of the top rated shows. They were also very focused on wanting to do sustainable merchandise made with recyclable products and paper and all that, not to create as much landfill, but honestly, to even make a plastic toy, you are creating landfill, and listeners will hear I dropped in one of the commercials during our commercial break in here. They had on their toy commercials at the end of it, it seems like they weren't selling very well because at the end it said, at KB Toys, buy this and get a Duke Nukem and Verminous Scrum toy free.
They're now no longer made with onion meal.
I think they couldn't get rid of those villain toys.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not cool.
No, they're just ugly. Not ugly enough to be like real Ghostbusters toys.
And probably that sustainability hurt their play value too, I think. So you can either create landfill or make a good toy. What are you going to do? They also had a terrible comic book series at Marvel Comics, too.
Wow.
Just a 12-issue one. It was not ongoing.
Did Captain Planet disappear when Thanos snapped his fingers?
He's in a separate universe. They did not get to meet them. And also, America got to enjoy a horrendous NES video game of Captain Planet.
Yeah.
Which they couldn't even pay for the fucking theme song, those cheap bastards.
Oh, my God. Jesus Christ. I dodged that bullet. I knew from day one, no, not going to play that.
Though if you think that's bad, look up the Mega Drive Captain Planet game that America fortunately did not receive. Only Australia and Europe had to deal with it.
Oh.
It's even worth...
Ooh, a European platformer, you say?
Yep, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Sign me down.
With the clangiest... I will not play you, listeners, the music because it will make you tear your ears off, but it's like clang, clang, fling, fling, as you're trying to do fucking anything, and it's all mixing in with the sound effects. Awful. It also had an Amiga game, but who cares about that?
Yeah, I agree.
Also in 1991, along with the launch of the series, was the launch of the Captain Planet Foundation, which was a philanthropical division of Turner. Turner owned it. Barbara Pyle led that up, that it was meant to bring even more collective action into the world of kids inspired to be more ecologically friendly, thanks to Captain Planet. In 2001, it was spun off into its own nonprofit, which is still in operation to this day. And Barbara Pyle is even still on, I think, like the board of directors. She's not fully in charge of it, but still there. And then the show ran for 113 episodes, ending in 1996. Obviously, this was thanks to it being a pet project of Ted Turner.
Yeah,
There's
96
no way.
seems so late for Captain Planet. Jeez.
The last new episode airs in 96, and it's still airing in heavy rotation on Cartoon Network and TBS into the end of the 90s, which it's like, it already was hokey in 1990. By 1998, the cynicism, can it even withstand it?
Yeah, I think I recall watching this with friends as a teenager to goof on when it was still like inexplicably being aired.
Well, Ted Turner, though, was going to keep it on the air because that was his fucking call. And even into the 90s, when they merged with Warner Brothers, Turner and Warner merged together as one unit, he still had enough power to say, I want Captain Planet airing all the time on my channels. Unfortunately, in 2001, that all changed. Turner was part of AOL's disastrous merger with Warner Brothers.
Oh my God, I forgot about that. I guess we have to remind people, because I'm just remembering this now. AOL used to be one of the corporate monoliths. Like AOL was the Facebook of then. Jesus.
It was so big that Warner wanted to get in business with it. They're like, let's us become AOL Time Warner. You're so powerful, America Online. Insane to think that was the case, but that happened. As Ted Turner would go on to say, he would rather remarry any of his ex-wives than go through that AOL
what a burn.
thing. He hated it. And I mean, part of his distaste for media conglomeration comes from this. Once AOL merged with Warner, Ted Turner lost his stock power and his corporate influence.
He was not the biggest shareholder
considerably.
then, right? I'm
Yep.
guessing, yeah.
There was this is about wrestling.
Okay.
In WCW,
I like your disclaimer.
in WCW World Championship Wrestling, it was created by Ted Turner because he wanted wrestling on his channel that he owned without having to go to the Vince McMahon and his then WWF. That's why WCW existed. All of his executives below him, the majority of them said, WCW is stupid, it's trash, it demeans the rest of our programming, we gotta and it also loses money a lot of the years. We got to get rid of this, Ted. And Ted Turner just matter-of-factly said, as long as I'm here, there will always be wrestling on this channel. And specifically, this one wrestling program will always air at this time on Saturday night on TBS. That was the kind of power he wielded. And that extended to Captain Planet as well. Once in 2001, he lost that power. AOL, like that, just ended WCW. They're like, this sucks.
Oh.
It ruins our channels.
That's why it went away. Okay.
Yes. WCW lost a ton of money and it deserved to be shut down. But if Ted Turner hadn't lost all his power from AOL, he would have kept it going. Ted Turner would have just been like, no, we're keeping this going. Or at the very least, it would have stayed on his network. But once he lost that influence, gone. And that's the same thing relatively that happened to Captain Planet as well. Not only did the Captain Planet Foundation get moved off of Turner and not owned by it, but Captain Planet reruns really stopped airing as much. And there wasn't really any energy to make new Captain Planet things. And it really was just a joke to most people.
I mean, is this streaming anywhere? I bought my episode on Amazon.
Yeah, it's on Amazon. I mean, it's not on like Hulu or Netflix right now. At
You
least
have to
in
buy
the
it
United States.
on Amazon, though, a la carte.
I bet you it's on Boomerang. I bet you
yeah.
Well, because that was the audio on it was crap, so I won't play it. But Ted, there was a 2008 interview with Ted where he was being very grumpy about Captain Planet because he's like, we did great. I'm super proud of it. Now I can't even see it anymore. Maybe it runs on Boomerang. I don't know.
Aw.
Like 6 a.m. He's so mad that kids can't see it now, even though kids would reject it harshly now if they saw it. Like they would if they saw Dexter's Lab, they'd probably go like, "You old things."
I mean, I was the child audience this was intended for, and I thought it was stupid.
Yes, yeah. Well, so Boxer and Pyle moved on from this to work on no other television shows after Captain Planet. I don't think they were really TV producers. They were more like environmental executives.
The premise shows me or tells me a lot about how no one involved with television was in charge of this idea.
Well, it's corporate make work. It was forced to exist by a very rich man. Meanwhile, co-producer on the show, Tom Beers, moved on to create some of the most popular trash on television, like Storage Wars and Deadliest Catch.
Wow.
While series director Jim Duffy moved on to a prominent role on Rugrats in the later seasons of Rugrats.
Okay.
Now, what does the future hold for Captain Planet? Well, first off, they keep saying they're going to make a Captain Planet movie. Highly doubtful, not going to, though, I mean, they make a movie out of anything now if it was popular in the 90s.
Yeah.
For a time, Leonardo DiCaprio's production company had the rights to it and then didn't do dick with it.
People have the rights to a lot of things.
So now somebody else has the rights and they're saying it's definitely going to happen. I'm certain it won't. Captain Planet creators, at least, like Boxer and Pyle, they are really behind it too. They're like, boy, we hope this happens. We want it to happen. But I think the legacy of it, though, and why they shouldn't make a movie is because Captain Planet is such a punchline. And I think to adapt it into a film, you'd have to have like a bunch of quips and snark and MCU-style jokery about it, when a true Captain Planet adaptation should be one of the most earnest films ever made.
Very earnest and cheesy.
Yeah, just incredibly cheesy, nay, embarrassing even. And yeah, the legacy of Captain Planet is just like an earnestness that's very easy to view through an ironic lens. And it's just kind of groan-worthy. And also, it's very, very easy to poke holes in the show. And you go, well, there's one episode where there's a heat wave and Wheeler is like, I'm going to put on the air conditioner. Like, Wheeler, do you know what those coolants do to the ozone? He's like, it's fucking hot and we're dying. Let me turn on the
Lay
light.
off, lady.
Give me a fucking break once. But that said, Captain Planet's legacy, I think, is also that it was right about so many things.
It's true.
Most prominently, the irreversible climate change that they incessantly warned us about. In this very episode, they did.
It is like if Lisa Simpson made her own cartoon.
Yes, yeah, exactly. I think the show has its heart in the right place.
Me too.
And it deserves points for that, for wanting to make us all Planeteers, you know? And sometimes I think many of the mockeries of Captain Planet, like that Don Cheadle thing, which Don Cheadle's very funny, and I'm not knocking that, but it's just a joke of like, what if Captain Planet was fucked up because he's so, and that's just easy.
Yeah.
That's like, what if Big Bird did drugs? Oh man, that'd be crazy. And they made a whole movie called that. But it's just an easy gag, and it's something that I'm really happy our friends of the show, Ian Jones, Cordy, and Toby Jones on OKKO, did not do.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
It's an amazing tribute to Captain Planet because, as Ian mentioned in multiple interviews, including ours, that he just came to the realization, like, well, I work at Turner. They own Captain Planet. Could I put Captain Planet in here? And they got the rights to do it. They did a full Captain Planet parody where Dr. Blight works with Boxman to pollute the world for profit.
Yeah,
somehow.
It's called The Power Is Yours. If you have Hulu in America, you can watch it.
Yes, yeah. And one of my favorite things about that episode is that they had the same feeling we did, that like it's a silly thing and easy to laugh at. I love how Kwame is played and just like, oh no, the plaza. Like he's played by
Burton's
LeVar
having
Burton.
a lot of fun. And then they do their own PSA at the end with the OKKO characters drawn to look like that very G.I. Joe style that Captain Planet is drawn in.
But OKKO also agrees that Captain Planet was correct.
Yeah.
And in our first interview with Ian, he also talked about how they worked with the voice actor Coburn of Captain Planet to really figure out what Captain Planet would say here and to make, because Coburn's like, I know the character, let me help with the verbiage here. And I think it really helped that, like, you know, Coburn doesn't do all these jokes about it. LeVar Burton doesn't do these jokes. I think that they saw that OKKO was coming from a place of love for the episodes for Captain Planet and not just to make fun of it or to goof on it easy like in some Funny or Die sketch.
They even play the same music, which is very, very interesting to see over the OKKO style.
It's and they're oh man, the Captain Planet transformation sequence
it's really
is
cool.
One of the greatest ever. And I'm annoyed how not enough people watch OKKO, but a lot of people shared this next clip I'm going to play because it really was Captain Planet gets real, y'all.
I'm sure glad that everything is okay and back to normal.
That's not exactly true, KO.
It isn't?
I've only gotten rid of the mess around the plaza. The air is still choked with smog. Also, everything outside of the parking lot is still underwater.
Golly, can't you just, go around the world and suck up the smog like you did here at the plaza?
It's not as simple as that, K.O. Even if I sucked up all the smog, climate change is permanent. The Planeteers and I tried to fight it ourselves many years ago. But things just got worse and worse.
Wow.
We are sorry to break this to you, K.O., but the Earth is in serious danger. Saving the planet is no longer an option that we can choose to ignore.
Kwame's right. If we don't save the Earth while we still can, all life on this planet could perish.
Wake up, kids. The 90s are over and we're about to die.
Yeah. That should, instead of the Planeteer alert, it should say Green New Deal after that. But,
Ooh. You know that would cost $11 trillion, Henry?
Well, I'd rather
die.
Yeah. Just light the sky on fire then.
Yeah.
11 billion.
I ain't paying for it.
Which again, we afforded $1 trillion war. I think we can afford this. Enough politics, can't do it. But this is a very political show, so it brings up political. It shouldn't be. The environment shouldn't be political. It should be something that is a bipartisan agreement. But when all Republicans want to destroy the planet, and I'd say half of the Democrats kind of agree with them for enough money, you're kind of fucked.
Now that politics is just what will make you mad?
Yeah,
it doesn't matter. I believe in nothing outside of what will make you mad.
Yeah. Oh, liberal, are you so mad that I ran my car? I used a gas guzzler. You don't even care, dude.
And those coal burners I'm thinking of, right?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Or the guys who eat Chick-fil-A 10 times a day and create all that landfill. Yeah.
The secret is it's killing them.
But yeah, that OKKO scene, I love that episode so very much. LeVar Burton is so great. He gets it so good, too. He knows the exact pitch the show is going for. So, honestly, don't watch this episode of Captain Planet we did today. Just watch that OKKO.
You'll get enough out of it based on our clips. Don't worry.
But I guess, why don't we take a quick break? And when we come back, we'll know what Captain Planet has to say in the episode, A Hero for Earth.
Sundays on TBS. There's a new superhero on the block, Captain Planet, fighting the greed, grime, and goons that threaten to destroy Earth. Captain Planet and the Planeteers. 8:35 Eastern, Sunday.
Go Planet!
Most everything we buy will someday be thrown away.
So try to buy things that can be reused or recycled.
Lots of packaging material may make something look better on the store shelf, but doesn't make a better product.
More packaging only means more garbage in overflowing landfills.
Paper or plastic?
Save it. We brought our own.
The power is yours!
Hey everybody, it's Henry Gilbert. I'm a Planeteer, and you can be one too.
Hey, it's Bob Mackey. I'm saving the planet by drinking coffee out of a non-paper cup. This is reusable, by the way.
And that's just some of the small ways that you can work together to change the planet, because the power is yours.
We can all chip in because corporations won't.
You know how else the power is yours? On patreon.com/Talking Simpsons.
Consider subscribing to Patreon, your special Captain Talking Simpsons ring. I apologize for that. But if you sign up right now at patreon.com/Talking Simpsons for $5 a month, you'll get every episode of this podcast 1 week ahead of time and ad-free. And along with your subscription, you'll get all these bonuses like exclusive series like Talking Futurama, Talking Critic, and the currently unraveling Talk King of the Hill. We're so excited about that. Also, we've done so many interviews over the years. You can hear them all on Patreon. Also, end of season wrap-ups, community podcasts, deleted scene specials, and so much more is happening there. If you like our voices, there are, I'd say, over 100 podcasts just there waiting for you to listen to right now behind the paywall.
So much. That comes along with getting this podcast a week ahead of time, all in one one easy to use RSS feed that you get right when you sign up, or easy to find again on the front page of a desktop view of Patreon.
That's true.
And, actually, one thing you should look up on there is our interview we did back in 2017 with Ian Jones Cordy, because we asked him about making the Captain Planet episode of OKKO and working with the original voices of Kwame and Captain Planet for the show. It's a really, really good one if you love this celebration of Captain Planet as well. But there's even more benefits if you really want to take it to the next level.
Yes, if you sign up for our $10 tier at $10 a month, you'll get all of the $5 rewards we just mentioned, but also you'll have access to 18 months worth of exclusive videos that we did, and also our new cartoon podcast, What a Cartoon Movie, where every month we go through an entire movie that the patrons vote on. So far, we've done things like Batman, Mask of the Phantasm, Kiki's Delivery Service, Akira, a Goofy movie, Secret of Nim, and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Those are all 3+ hour podcasts usually that are accessible only to $10 plus patrons.
Yes, our most recent one, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, was a ton of fun. We go super in depth into all the Spider-Man history that's on display in that Oscar-winning film. And another really cool one is coming in May. Check all of that out. Patreon.com/Talking Simpsons. And now let's go back to the rest of this episode, because looting and polluting is not the way.
An eco-dweeb to trap my toxic sludge dump. I'll get one with this scuttle cup. Oh no! I need Captain Planet! I'll save you, Gee. You missed me, scum. Ugh, yuck. I guess we made a mess out of their plans.
The power is yours! Free Duke Nukem or Vermin a Skunk with the purchase of any Captain Planet toy from Tiger. Details at participating stores.
We now return to Captain Planet.
Our world is in peril. Gaia, the spirit of the earth, can no longer stand the terrible destruction plaguing our planet. She sends 5 magic rings to 5 special young people. One from Africa with the power of earth. From North America, Wheeler with the power of fire. From the Soviet Union, Linka with the power of wind. From Asia, Yi with the power of water. And from South America, Mati with the power of heart. When the 5 powers combine, they summon Earth's greatest champion, Captain Planet. The power is yours!
So here we are in the very first episode of Captain Planet.
And boy, does it take its time.
Yeah, which also, when the opening so succinctly describes what's going on,
yeah,
they take 10 minutes of this episode to set up what's described in the opening. It feels very wasteful.
I watch a lot of old cartoons for my job now, and I've always watched bad cartoons, and I can always tell when the writers of a cartoon will be like, you know what, that'll kill some time. Yeah. And you know what, if we do that, that'll kill some time. Oh, what if that would kill time? Like, there's no worry about pacing. It's like, we need to fill this time, goddammit. We have 9 minutes of story and 22 minutes to tell it. You are all going to sit down here and tell me how to drag this out.
In next week's episode is a board-driven show, and I think that's something, obviously you run out of time in storyboard stuff, but I think it's more easy to keep track of time when you're boarding out the show in script instead of writing a full script and then handing it to animators to figure out.
Like, this pan that you want will last 45 seconds. Given the script you're giving us.
You didn't write more script. We need more words here, guys. Yeah, you deal with it. But yeah, also this show, the opening is amazing.
Yeah, beautiful.
Everything is downhill from there.
Showing off all the powers is so cool.
Yeah, which a major thing of the show is that every kid sucks at their power, except I think Kwame maybe uses it well sometimes, but everybody else is like, okay, time to use wind. Oh, I made it worse. Time to use fire. Oops, made it worse.
I think as a kid it frustrated me, like, these are the coolest powers in a cartoon. and you can't do it.
You all suck at it. Yeah. And I think too in the Hanna-Barbera seasons, the opening was basically the same, but they had Captain Planet do the VO, not LeVar Burton, which I think was a real mistake because the voiceover by LeVar Burton, who is doing it in his normal voice, not in his accented voice he does for Kwame, I think you needed that to pull in kids with like the reading rainbow credentials.
Say, that's LeVar Burton. He tells me to read things.
But the opening really reminds me of Thundercats, especially in Thundercats when they show like lights coming together is like kind of a swirl of light that's very similar to what those rings do as well. I love the circle of gelatinous cement that gets burned by Wheeler. I love how Dr. Blight and Luton Plunder get tied up in all of their paper in the wind. That's so great. And the dolphin beating Hoggish Greedley, his reaction to like, whoa. And again, these kids have such cool powers.
And nothing will ever move this well again in the show.
And I'm glad we did the first episode because they still say in the intro, which you heard right before this, listeners, Linka is from the Soviet Union.
Linka.
They beat the USSR by just a few days. Yeah. It would be changed to from Eastern Europe in later episodes. Also, I'm sorry, Australia and Antarctica, you're the two continents not recognized here. It also feels weird not to have like, I think if they were to make a change now, they would need like a Muslim, I feel like.
Yeah.
Man, what if it was like a French woman who who's also a Muslim? That would blow some fucking minds right there. I also, in the opening, Captain Planet's Sailor Moon transformation is so gorgeous.
Yeah.
I love it. And that's really usually where they splurged in animation in the episodes too.
Because they could reuse it, yeah.
Yes, yeah. Though often he would come from like some new spots too. They change it up a little bit. And yet we get a very cute opening of happy, fuzzy animals destroyed by devastation.
The cutest little bunny in the world.
Which makes it even sadder when the toyetic design of Hoggish Greedley's ship appears. And why don't we let Hoggish introduce himself?
With this giant land blaster, I'll be able to drill broil anywhere.
Yeah, boss. Yeah. Even in the wildlife sanctuary.
Right. And before anybody even knows we're here, we'll have our tanks full of oil and be gone. I'll be so rich, I'll be in hog heaven.
So he's a pig pun-based character, and I could see this thing in a toy commercial of a little kid saying, "You're dead, Captain Planet," and then it knocks down the tiny miniature brick wall that all kids have in their playrooms.
Yeah, very.
And smoke comes out of it.
I think Ed Asner is loving playing Hoggish Greedley. I think we talked about him in the Boondocks episode. He's a big-time Hollywood lefty. Also a 9/11 truther, I would find out.
That's right, yeah. This is like our third appearance of Ed Asner in this podcast. Maybe fourth if he was in that Freakazoid we did. So we have Gargoyles, we have the Boondocks, we have this, and possibly, I forget if Cosgrove appeared in that episode.
He was not in that Freakazoid, but we did talk about him. Yeah. Man, Ed Asner is in everything. He was in, there was a 2016 video of like them at a panel, like the Captain Planet reunion at the panel. The only one of the villains to frickin' show up was Ed Asner, and he had a cane.
Wow.
Like, come on, Meg Ryan, what are you doing?
Hats off to you, Ed.
Hats off to Ed. And what I also love about Hoggish is he knows he's a pig man, and he leans into it. He's like, I'll be in hog heaven.
I'm going to snort like a pig man. Hey, I know what I look like. I've got a mirror.
I don't care. Oh, you're going to call me a pig? I'll call myself a pig first. How do you like that?
I bet his real name isn't even Hoggish.
I believe his grandfather in one episode is Pork Loin or something.
Oh, sweet.
It should be noted that Hoggish's plan to drill in a wildlife reserve was exactly Sarah Palin's platform as vice president.
That's right. Yeah.
Drill, baby, drill.
Yeah.
So yes.
The supervillainy of the 90s is just the modern corporate policy of today.
Again, Hoggish's mistake was not to run for governor.
Yeah.
That's
buy like a lot of congressmen and go to work.
I mean, yeah, that's again, they're sneaking into a wildlife reserve. If he had just paid off some guy in Montana, he probably could have gotten to just do this.
Yeah, I just love his plan. Like, we'll be out of here before they even know it. It's like, you're in the most ostentatious spider robot. You think no one is seeing this?
And also his sidekick, Rigger.
I don't. No, let's go back. Let's go back to the drawing board with that name, folks.
Yes,
I
yeah.
don't care for the name Rigger.
We'll just call him his sidekick.
Yeah.
His sidekick, though, I was shocked to find out is John Ratzenberger because it
Really?
doesn't sound nothing like him.
No, he's not doing the hey, how's it going there, Dasner?
It's Ratzenberger actually acting in there, which
playing her some sort of rat man.
I love too that he's so clearly a rat.
Yeah.
Rat-like appearance, as Homer would say.
Dear rat boy.
See, this taught kids a bad lesson that bad people will all look hideous and good people look good. That's how you'll know who the bad people are.
Oh, we have Dr. Blight.
Yeah, okay. She's the one attractive person. As they're digging away here, Gaia is awoken from her sexy cover girl slumber.
Oh man, things just slow down.
Yeah. Well,
when Gaia is around.
So here, Gaia doesn't play a big part in every episode. She's in some episodes, sometimes she isn't. Big thumbs up to them getting Whoopi Goldberg. We all know Whoopi can act better than this. She is at 70, she's at 50% here.
This is the year that she won her Oscar for
yeah.
Ghost. And man, she doesn't give a shit about this. I like Whoopi Goldberg. She's very funny and very charismatic.
Oh, man, and Lion King as a voice actor, she's so good at that.
But she's just sleepwalking through this.
Yeah.
And literally, she's just waking up in this episode too.
I love Whoopi. She popularized vaping marijuana before so many celebrities did.
Okay.
Yeah. She called her wand sippy. She's
sippy.
I love my sippy. That's Whoopi, baby. But in here, it feels like she agreed to do it as a favor, and then when she actually had to record, she's like, I regret this.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. This is what voice acting is. This sucks.
It's not like dressing up like a Star Trek.
Or maybe she did it for scale because she's like, well, no, this is a charity thing. And then she sees all the fucking toys for it. She's like, wait, is this why am I taking a pay cut when you're making all this toy money?
Do you think LeVar Burton got her on the show because they were both on The Next Generation?
Yeah,
she played one of them space bartenders, I guess.
I mean, that's the pipeline of liberal. Yes, she's Gaiden, not Gaia.
Okay, Gaiden. Ninja
very,
Gaiden.
very different. Yeah, well, I mean, she's a big Trekkie herself.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Nichelle Nichols inspired her so much as a kid, so you couldn't keep her away from Star Trek. Same with LeVar Burton. God, I love LeVar Burton so much. God,
thankfully, Reading Rainbow got that Kickstarter funded.
Yeah, did that happen?
It did happen.
Okay.
It did happen.
I mean, did a thing come out?
Probably not. It's Kickstarter, but they spent that money.
But anyway, let's meet Gaia.
It's those poor, silly humans again. They're gonna destroy my planet if they keep going on like this. What's a mother to do? I guess I napped too long. But how much damage could they do in a century? It's worse than I thought. Earth is dying. The time has come for the rings. I need young people to help now, starting with 5 very special kids from 5 corners of the globe.
Mother Earth is so uninvolved with the care of this planet. She saw the Industrial Revolution happening and was like, you know what? I'll keep an eye on that. Nap time.
Nap time. Slept for 100 years.
Yeah.
And
if anything, it's her own damn fault.
But boy, they want Gaia to be sexy. Though.
Yeah.
She's got a banging bod there.
There's a lot of sexy characters. I mean, as a kid, I thought the women on the show were pretty hot. I'm not trying to be weird or anything, but it's they are attractive young female characters.
I didn't feel like they had the same. I mean, look, Captain Planet's a handsome enough guy. He wears his midriff well. I like that, but
I was a real geek guy.
Their heart wasn't in it for the men like it was for pretty much all the ladies on the show. Why wasn't there a hoggish, greedy woman? Why couldn't a woman be that?
It's
ugly?
true, yeah.
But yeah, Whoopi is just so reserved. Maybe that's how she felt.
Looks like the planet's in trouble again. I guess I better get the rings.
She's given a laugh line there of what's a Mother Earth to do? Which I maybe it's not that she's intentionally underplaying it. Maybe she's well, no, this is basically God, Mother Nature. I want to play her regally.
Wow, this show is liberal. God is a black woman.
Yes, Yeah, I agree. The spirit of Earth. This is a non-denominational.
That is
show.
true.
It's also an important point here that she brings up that she wants to start with 5 kids, but all you viewers are Planeteers. These are just the first 5 Planeteers. After taking 100 years off, she's decided, like, you know what? No, I'm forcing humans to do this. I probably could snap my fingers and fix most of this, but it's up to you guys now.
But boy, what a crappy setup. Like, oh, why is the Earth so polluted? Well, Mother Earth fell asleep.
Yeah. It wasn't.
You know how women are.
Yeah, you know, that's actually bullshit. It's not industrialization going wild.
Yeah.
I do think it feels very right, though, that the first ecological threat they deal with is an oil spill, because the Exxon Valdez was only a year earlier in 1989.
Oh, yeah.
And wonderfully, it was eclipsed by Deepwater Horizon as the greatest oil spill in natural history. 2010, that happened. So, man, what if we had told Ted Turner in 1989, hey, 21 years from now, there's going to be one way worse than that?
We should have had the Captain Planet reboot like a decade ago then.
Well, hey, Deepwater, the BP apologized. Actually, I should call that the BP oil spill, not Deepwater Horizon.
Yeah.
Let's actually name.
I didn't know what you were talking
the
about
monster.
until you said BP oil spill. Because I was like, was there a different one than the BP oil spill? It's like, please get our name off of that.
On Wikipedia, it's called Deepwater Horizon, which
it sounds like an action movie.
That was the name of the movie, I think, too. But I believe that was like the name of the subcontractor. But it was BP's oil, and BP deserves that.
Yeah.
Man, I was falling for their propaganda without realizing it. Just like that Garfield cartoon told me, you're not immune to propaganda.
Yeah.
Have you seen that one?
No.
Oh, it's great. It's maybe I've been on the Chapo Reddit too much. But
I think I know what you're talking about. I laughed instinctually, and then I was like, no, wait, what am I laughing at?
It's a drawing of Garfield's head that said, remember, you are not immune to propaganda.
Okay. Yes, I think I have seen that. I'm more used to the Disney characters talking about Marxism.
Yes, those are also great.
Those great memes.
I know they needed to do an origin episode. This is the first episode, but the opening...
Yeah, the opening covers this in 30 seconds.
And it does it so well. The opening is the best part of this entire series. They explain the premise so well, and they take 10 goddamn minutes to get these Planeteers
It takes
together.
so long for them to get their rings, and some of the ways to get their rings are just odd.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's on my stick now. Oh, okay.
Well, I like how they get their rings because they're all connected to the elements. So Kwame gets his by sticking his stick in the dirt. That sounded weird. But when he pulls it out, the ring is on it. So the Earth gave him his ring in charge of Earth. Guy is in the water with the dolphin. The dolphin throws it back out of the water. So the water gave her
Most
ring.
of them get them from animals,
Yes,
like a dolphin, a monkey, or a
Linka,
bird.
the bird, gets it. For Wheeler, the fire just spits it
I like
out.
how a trash fire gives him the ring. Also, America is like Final Fight Town.
Yes,
It's like, what are we in Captain N?
I think it's very fitting that America got the literal garbage fire.
Yeah.
I like that. And the way Mati gets it with heart is he saves the monkey, and so the monkey rewards his love with it. But shouldn't he really get the power of mammals or something?
The power of monkeys.
I mean, okay, let's talk about this. Power of heart. It's stupid. It's dumb.
They even know that in the show, and they're like, actually, Mati, it's the best power of all. It sucks.
They have to tell you that out loud. I feel like there were more than like 5 or 6 episodes that were about how his power sucked and they learned that it actually was good. But him being a communication center is good. That's useful in a normal team, but this team fucks up every episode, so it's not like he even helps there. He's basically just a cell phone for like
Exactly.
Gaia.
He's like a communication system.
Yeah. And it's also, there's not much character to Mati. He's just like, I'm friendly. I'm even friendlier than Kwame. That's how friendly I am.
Wow, he is friendly.
The easy joke to do is that Heart sucks. So that's what I did really like on OKKO, that they gave Heart to KO, the main character, to not make jokes about it.
I thought they were doing a little heart recovery there.
Yeah. I mean, now as an adult, I know that empathy is actually way more important than I thought as a kid.
I also liked in that OKKO episode where when KO used the heart power, there's like a brief image of a screaming monkey head.
Love that.
I laughed out loud at that.
From the beginning, she reaches out to kids from 5 different continents all over the globe because the internal message is this is a global operation to save the planet, not just America's mission, which Dale Gribble would definitely say is UN propaganda. And so I will say again that at least Kwame and Guy are played by actors of color, so that's good casting. Maybe next time for Mati, you get an actual Brazilian for it, and maybe get a Russian instead of Kath Soucie doing a very heavy Russian.
She's like a Punch-Out character in this show.
And I love Kath Soucie.
Yeah.
I love her. She's great. And that also is what brought me back to the X-Men animated series pilot, produced just 1 year before this episode premiered, is because Kath Soucie plays a very similar character in Kitty Pryde.
That's right, yeah.
In that same show. And I think it's pretty nice that Dolphin to give her the ring too. I like that. Thinking of X-Men, Kwame is really Cyclops in that he is the boring leader of the group who does keep things together.
That is true.
Or I guess Leonardo, you could call him Leonardo as well.
Yeah, they're the same character.
Well, meanwhile, Wheeler is Wolverine, except he sucks at everything.
Yeah, he's a real excuse me princess style character.
He is exhausting. I think the coolest introduction really is Linko with her playing a keyboard while birds fly to her.
Yeah, she's like a Snow White character. Wheeler, do they eventually downplay his New York accent? Because in this one, I don't remember him having this strong of a, hey, what's going on here, Captain Planet?
I think, honestly, in 5 episodes.
Yeah, you're not very good at this, actor.
It gets turned down quite a lot. Yeah. Also, the Mati scene really ties into the rainforest fears that we all had back then.
Yeah.
Which, some smart people said they took care of, and they did. So who are we to question it? No, we're actually doomed for that too. There's no more rainforest left. Cut them all down. That Nazi that just got in charge in Brazil says he's going to cut them all down. That's boy, Mati is pretty unhappy now.
Yeah.
Were he real?
He's got to use that power of heart all over again.
I wonder how that power of heart will work on Bolsonaro. I wonder. But it wouldn't be a 90s cartoon if Frank Welker didn't play a monkey. And so
of course.
He's the voice of Mati's monkey friend, whose name escapes me. But so all the Planeteers come together in a very low on dialogue segment of just finding all the kids. And Gaia welcomes them to Hope Island.
These, then, are my first Planeteers. The world's greatest hope. Welcome to Hope Island.
Yo, say, lady, you want to explain what's going on here?
So much for drama.
All right, let me get this straight. Your name is Gaia, and you're the spirit of the earth?
And you brought us here to help you save Earth from being ruined?
Yes, that's about the size of it.
Saving our planet is, yes, a good thing. However, we are but youths. How can we help?
Hey, love your accent, babe. You Russian?
Soviet. Please, go away.
Love it.
As I was saying, through your power rings, each of you can control one power of nature to a limited degree. For instance, you, Lenka, control the power of wind. Try it.
Oh boy! And then
Can
they
we
show
speed
off.
this up?
I know, just like I was getting impatient during the clip. Also, come on, the Wheeler thing is just too much for me. Hey, lady, what is going on? Oh, wait!
I got that sounds like the Rick and Morty character. Like, where I'm from in Brooklyn, we gotta say it for people like you.
That's right.
I'm walking here.
That's right. He is that character. Oh my god! And then they all show if you did I just saw the opening and then they all use their rings and they all fuck it up and so Wheeler really fucks it up. But I like how again the show has some weird signals where Kwame uses his ring and they point out this will be good for stopping bulldozers. Like, wait a minute, are you is this eco-terrorism? I'm cool with it, but is the children's show saying this to kids?
Yeah, it's an interesting statement when that's the most interesting thing they give Kwame to do in this because he's at first he sounds like just a dweeb, I can plant many trees with my godlike power now, but then you're oh, what a nerd. And he's but also stop many bulldozers. And I mean, is he gonna he doesn't qualify that illegal bulldozers or people who don't have rights to the land or whatever. So, and well, also speaking of Wheeler and Linka, they really set up the sexual tension early between those two. The Cold War is getting hot here.
It's so tedious. I can't stand these characters, and I can't imagine how much this normalized like sexual harassment for children. Just like, yeah, he's a funny character who won't leave this poor woman alone.
She eventually gives in and kisses him in an episode.
He's a character. I mean, that was not their intent, honestly, but like, there were so many of these characters that you could not really do now. You'd be like, that's not a good message for kids.
They just wanted to do a will they, won't they thing to spice up the show. And also, isn't it clever to like, wow, here's the Soviet person and the capitalist American coming together in sexual congress even. Like that is a fun idea for romantic tension. Though, they should have given fucking Linka the water thing. It should be fire and water, not fire and wind. Why can't Guy have the wind? Like, what? Just change it up, you know? Though I guess, you know, I do feel like there is a slight commentary on dolphin farming by giving the Asian character the dolphin connection thing. I feel like that's...
Is she from Thailand? She's
from Thailand, yeah.
Is Thailand in the dolphin industry? Like, Japan is most notable.
I honestly can't say. I mean,
I'm sure the producers probably mixed up every Asian country.
Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, it was, I'll give them a credit for like, they all could be from countries that
from
are
the
more...
country of Africa.
Well, yeah. Well, or like South Africa or Egypt.
Yeah.
Ones that are more famous to Americans. Not to say Americans have never heard of Ghana, but it wasn't the most famous in 1990 to Americans, I would say. And same with Thailand, you know, that's way below Japan or China. Like, that's the easy, obvious place to go.
We had to wait until Yakko's World came out to learn about all the countries. Like,
yeah, well, and same with Brazil too. Like, I think Brazil is a gigantic country. Like, Americans have heard of it, but I think also they picked it because it's famously a bunch of rainforests are there. So that's also a big part of it. Yeah, Wheeler, the first time he uses fire, he is terrible at it. And an important message in every single episode of the show is that Wheeler is wrong, and he's always wrong, and he always fucks up. Whenever they say like, hey, Wheeler, we should go do this, he's like, why even should we? It's not my problem. Or what?
Like, why'd they choose Wheeler? Why did the trash fire choose him?
Well, I think that they did want to make a message that this is not an America-centric show. And also to teach kids, like, you know, sometimes in these global movements, America isn't the leader. They're actually the worst party of it, who have to be dragged by the rest of the countries to do better things.
And I don't think they kept that conceit where if the characters say the element their ring is part of, it will happen.
I don't believe so, no.
Because I'm sure like Kwame was like, we have to save the earth, and like a chasm didn't open up under him as he said that, you know.
Well, I mean, his ring can tell the difference between a proper noun and the ground.
They're smart rings.
Yeah, and Wheeler fucks up for the first time, and everybody starts learning how to use their ring.
Impressive. Truly, with a ring such as this, I will be able to plant many trees and also stop many bulldozers from destroying the forest.
Now you're getting the idea.
Hey, what's my
Fuck 'em
element?
up.
Water? Fire? Yeah! Sorry, you got an extinguisher?
Better than that. Guy, your power is water.
Okay, here goes. Water.
If I can poke holes in their powers once more, it also kind of annoys me that Wheeler can just make fire spontaneously appear, but they always have to find an excuse for Guy to have water come at us.
There's always a fjord.
I was thinking the same thing. It's just, it's lame that like in this episode, it has to appear from somewhere. It makes her have to be around water all the time, or a water hose breaks or something.
Well, this show observes the laws of conservation of matter, so you can't just create water.
But he creates fire.
He's burning things up around him. It's fine.
I mean, I guess you could say his ring burns the air. If he was in a place without oxygen, could he make fire? Maybe not, I guess. No, there has to be an episode where he uses that in outer space. There's got to be. I apologize, I didn't watch all 113
They had to go to space twice.
At least twice.
Is there pollution on the moon? Let's find out.
And yes, the only person who has any good control of their powers at first is Mati.
What do you think your power is, Mati?
I already know. Mine is heart. I can sense you all, hear your thoughts, feel your feelings.
Bush moi, I can hear him in my head.
That's right. Mati, yours is the greatest power of all. Because without a heart to guide them, the other powers are useless. Through you, the others will always be linked, no matter where they are. On the side of good, you are a team, now and forever, the Planeteers.
This is gonna be hot!
But first, I see we will need to practice with our new powers.
There's no time, Kwame, for we already face our first crisis.
We're in a lot of danger, Kwame. Things are very serious.
It's
here.
a lot of pressure right now. You gotta get going.
God, it's just like, now, Mati, I know your power seems shitty, but let me tell you.
They're actually the most important. Well, also...
Get out of my head! Get out of my head!
Yeah, honestly, they should be pissed off. Like, what? Get the fuck out of my head. You can't feel my thoughts.
I know
Stop
you can
that.
hear my thoughts, Mati. Meow, 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 meow.
That Heart, that Gaia is totally lying to him that Heart is the best power. Also, he says, like, without the heart to guide them, they don't listen to him. He doesn't lead. Kwame is the leader if anybody is, but really it's just Gaia tells them what to do and they go do it. And then, like, Kwame is the one who does the Cyclops type or Leonardo type. Okay, you go there, I'll go here. And is boring. Wheeler's Raphael, but Mati just isn't shit, man. He's boring.
I think like the Mati sucks jokes were the Aquaman sucks jokes of our generation.
Actually, they both create concentric circles of light when they do their powers.
They
too.
have a lot in common.
No, I hate being mean to Mati because it also does feel like an attack on emotion and feelings and saying that emotion is useless.
But when you're fighting super villains with like magic powers, that's
I mean, his heart ring can't make Hoggish Greedley care, can it? If not, then why even do it? Well, and also, like, keep in mind these powers just in this episode when everybody should be showing off their powers. Mati uses heart once, and it's to be a phone.
Yes, exactly. He's a phone in this episode. I think the main issue is it's not really. I don't think we're having an attack on empathy here, but it's just like the power is so nebulously defined. It's irritating. Like a lot of things in the show, just like you didn't really explain that well enough, so it doesn't make any sense.
There was one episode I read about in my research that like his ring creates electromagnetic waves that helps him get through some force field. And I'm like, when is that explained as the power of the heart? But I mean, that's just classic. A writer makes up shit to get them out of a corner they pointed themselves in. The heart ring sucks. It's a light ring. In their own use of it, they could use it to make it better. They don't. Even though I bet I feel like I remember a few episodes that were about how the heart ring actually saves the day and everybody underestimated him.
You could feel the writer's insecurities. Like, no, it's a good idea. I thought of it.
I mean, you think that this certainly was focus group to hell.
Yeah, I mean, it looks it.
Little boys watching the show would say, the heart's stupid. I don't like it. And I think it's also unfair that saying this is hot activates the ring. Like, you didn't say fire.
Yeah, come on. Keep your rules straight, Captain Planet writers.
Also, that flame, he should be like, Jesus Christ, my skin is melting.
I need a graft. Take her to the hospital.
Gaia, please. Well, Wheeler, it seems like your graft isn't taking. So
there's no time for hospitals now, Wheeler.
So they're sent off in their very toyetic car as well.
Oh,
or
man.
plane, really.
I'm going to buy that thing.
Which Wheeler, also being a selfish American, is just like, why don't I get to fly this thing, huh? But before they go off on there, we get to hear about how Hoggish Greeley DGAF.
You were right. This wildlife preserve is rich in high-grade crude. The only thing is, ain't that oil leaking up gonna hurt all the animals on the coast there?
Who cares? There's only one thing in the world worth caring about, and that's me.
I can't believe that's John Ratzenberger not doing like, hey, how's it going there, Hoggish? Why don't we drill for oil? What do you think about that?
I love, he's such a Disney sidekick too, like, oh boy, Chief, you did it great, but look at all that oil. It's hurting the animals. We didn't mean to do that, did we? Which, of course, was the point of it. Like, now you're shocked it's hurting the animals.
Hoggish only
Sidekick.
looks out for one guy. Hoggish.
But Ed Asner is loving playing this, like, fat, putrid pile of money. It's just definitely money is part of it, but it's more just resources. He just wants everything. Money, though he has to be like a billionaire to afford to build that on his own.
Yeah, I guess these CEOs are just very hands-on. They're not playing golf like every other CEO.
You know, maybe Hoggish is just an independent contractor for Exxon and they're paying him to get all this stuff.
Could be.
They're just like his shadow backers.
Why do we keep hiring monsters? Literal monsters.
Why is our boardroom full of monsters?
At Exxon, we have one goal: getting monsters and having them get the job done.
Yeah, you waste a lot of time in those meetings with hog puns. So yes, they're flying on the way there. Wheeler wants to fly the plane because he's a selfish American, and then Gaia has a little hint of how powerful they could become.
If only Gaia could be with us.
She is, Linka. Watch. Heart.
Don't worry, Planeteers. Though I need to stay at Hope Island, I will be with you in spirit.
That lot of good that'll do us in a firefight.
Yeah.
Wheeler, don't say fire until you mean it. Water.
You must have faith in yourselves, Planeteers, because you're fighting for the good of the whole world.
And if we encounter a situation which we cannot handle?
Well, just put your powers together. Then you'll really be surprised.
Oh, wait a minute. What's that supposed to mean?
Sit down, Yankee, and fasten the seatbelt for your safety.
I didn't know you cared.
It is horrible. The whole coastline is being destroyed.
I love them sort of writing Gaia out of the series. It's just like, no, Mother Earth is very important for the saving of Earth. She should be very hands-on, but she's like, sorry, kids, Gaia has other projects right now.
Yes.
I don't have time for this rinky-dink shit doing this kiddie voice acting show.
But that her powers are restricted to Hope Island, like, that's kind of fucked up.
I can't
too.
leave Hope Island. I can't. Check the Captain Planet story Bible.
I do love that everybody dumps on America there. They're like, sit down, Yankee, and calling him an imperialist pig. Like, that they make it that the Soviet is more worried about ecology than the American is very, very telling about where they're coming from in this show, I think, which, hey, I'm all for that.
I wonder how many conservative dads in 1990 fired a gun at their television.
He also tells Wheeler, like, do you have a driver's license? Like, why would that make you good at flying a plane?
Yeah, and why does he think he can fly a plane? He's like a street fighter.
Well, again, he's a selfish American. He thinks he should do everything. That's and yeah, Wheeler for the third time in the episode starts a fire. The fire is one of the most useful powers there is, and he just burns everything.
All you need is fire, frankly.
It should be just Captain Fire. He just burns a cleansing flame to clean the earth again.
Just burn Hoggish Greedley alive.
He really should.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, oh man, you're on top of all that oil.
What if I fucking kill you?
Just burn you alive. And yes, God, she is so low energy. I'm like, just put your powers together. Just put them together.
Sorry, kids. Yeah, Hope Island calling.
And she's probably bothered that Mati even bothered to call her. Like, hey, I gave you that power for emergencies only, Mati.
Guys, this is me time.
So then we get to see a bunch of very sad animals covered in oil. Only sadder in real life because they're just corpses, not just unhappy animals that are easily cleaned by the end of the episode.
They are very easily cleaned. Just got to spray them with the hose.
And there's only like 12 of them, so it's not that bad. But meanwhile, as Hoggish sees them arrive, he decides he's going to murder children.
Mr. Greenlee, look! Is it the Coast Guard?
No, I think we're in deeper slop than that. But no big deal. Hoggish Greedley will be too slick for him. I'll spray them with oil.
We're being hit!
Man, these guys are really rude with crew.
The controls are jammed!
God. Yeah, Hoggish, I mean, even though you are a supervillain, you are trying to kill children.
Yes, yeah. Well, which also makes me wonder if that was the Coast Guard, would he have tried to kill them too? Because like
Maybe.
you're asking for capital punishment at that point.
Yeah, there are no policemen in this world, I think, for the most part.
They pretty much never show up. Well, I read up on a few episodes where there is like a businessman who's doing something bad, but they always have to set up that they were tricked by one of the supervillains on the show. There was one about like a cosmetics manufacturer, and the Planeteers were really mad at her, and she's like, no, basically Mary Kay.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, I'm cruelty free, aren't I? And then she finds out that Dr. Blight was running her animal testing, and that it was all a mistake. She never would have done animal testing if it wasn't for Dr.
The excuse is like, hey, buddy, I just work here. I don't know what you want.
I mean, I own the company,
Yeah.
but this goes through a lot of hands. One of the low points of animation in the episode is when the plane is going down, the cuts to static shots of the teens look really bad. That's like bad. And then when we come back from commercial break, Kwame is immediately taking the lead and telling people how to get themselves out of it. There's 2 times that Wheeler uses his powers correctly. The first time here is when he lights, though honestly, I think lighting a window on fire that's covered in oil is maybe a stupid idea.
Sounds pretty bad to me.
How about you use wind to push to break the window?
Let's burn ourselves out from the inside. Yeah, bad idea.
Yes, then Linka uses wind to uplift them while Kwame uses his earth to pick them up, which, I don't know, I feel like water could have helped in that part there too, but Guy doesn't do much in that account. And once they finally get landed safely, Wheeler then makes things worse.
Greetings, strange ship. Who are you anyway?
We're the Planeteers, you free pollution-causing creep. And as soon as we get our boat set up, we're gonna sail over there and kick your curly pigtail. And don't bother shooting your crew, because I'll personally vaporize every drop before it hits us.
Oh, I'm sure you could, Planeteer, so I won't bother shooting at you. I'll warn you, mind your own business or my next blast of crude will land on your furry friends on shore.
I think we got problems.
So Wheeler's going to safely burn the oil before it hits them.
I'll vaporize it all. I'll just burn. What bad could happen if you light oil on fire, like a giant vat of it that's also in the water? Nothing would happen then. The water would probably just put it out, right?
It's water, yeah. That's what you do with a grease fire. You throw water on it. You're good.
But that's, again, the point is that Wheeler/America sucks, and they only make things worse.
They're terrible at diplomacy.
That's the constant message of this show. They're then painted into a corner, and this is definitely the time killing you were talking about, where all they have to say is, we're painted into a corner while we should combine our powers. But they spend 40 seconds explaining, like, but if we do this and that, and if we do this and that, it sucks.
After episode 1, at the second there's trouble, like, guys, summon him. He'll solve every problem. Apparently, there are no limits on his powers. He's not like, nope, everybody. I can only be summoned once per week. They should really set up a limitation, because there's no explanation as to why they can't just summon Captain Planet immediately.
Why did the Planeteers even fly to places? The second they hear about, like, hey, somebody messed up a place. Okay, let our powers combine. Whoop, Captain Planet, go fly and take care of that shit.
Yeah, like when I was a kid, that was one of the problems that really bothered me about the show. Just summon him now. Now. It's minute 8 of the cartoon. Well, he is a Deus Ex Machina. He will solve every problem, but first you have to fail.
Yeah.
In order for him to take over.
Also, a lot of the time, Captain Planet fails on his first attempt.
And then when he's operating, your rings suck. So
it's a bad system, honestly.
Who designed the system? When Captain Planet is around, your rings don't work anymore?
Yeah, Gaia, what's going on?
Yeah, come on. Call her up again, Mati. I'm not paying for this.
God, Mati, get her on the phone. What the fuck is this guy? But yes, eventually they realize they need to let their powers combine for the first time.
I've heard about this before.
Situation is more than we can handle, Planeteers. We need help.
You mean...
Exactly. We must do as Gaia advised. We must combine our powers.
Let's do it.
Let our powers combine. Earth.
Fire.
Wind. Water.
By your powers combined, I
Captain Planet.
Holy smoke! What the heck is that? Huh?
Trouble. Get on deck and man the arms. We're getting out of here.
I do like, did Kwame's ring make the Transformers noise? Like,
Oh, yeah, it kind of did, didn't it?
it feels like they're pulling from the same stock sound effects that like every Japanese overseas animated show had.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's definitely, it shares some staff with the Marvel production stuff too. So you'll hear some sounds that we heard in Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends as well. But something I didn't get as a kid, though, that is clear as day watching this, me as a white American kid, I didn't think of anybody as the leader. I focused directly on Wheeler because he's the most in common with me. But Kwame is so the leader of this. He's the one who tells them to do anything, really.
Yeah, I haven't watched this show in, I don't know, more than 20 years. And when you told me Kwame's the leader, I'm like, what, really? And now we're listening to these clips and watching the show. It's just like, oh, yeah, he clearly is the leader of this entire gang.
He's not the most interesting character,
No.
but neither is Leonardo, right?
Yeah.
But he is the leader. That's why that OKK episode is even better, that he's the only Planeteer left because he's the leader. He's the truest believer of them.
They all got like paying jobs, he
Yeah,
said, or something like that.
They all got real jobs.
Yeah.
So they summon Captain Planet for the first time. There's some big differences here with later episodes. One, he does not burst out of the ground. He appears in the air, which is very different from most Captain Planet appearances. And the second is he doesn't have red boots this entire episode. He is barefoot.
Oh, I didn't notice that. That's weird. Okay.
I can't stop looking at Captain Planet's feet.
In fact, show more of the feet.
But no, it struck me as just, I knew in the opening theme, it's the classic design. He's got his red boots, but for some reason in this, he doesn't have red boots. And I don't know if it's like an animation fuck up that they simply couldn't do retakes on for the first episode. Or that they originally designed him without boots. And then after they got the first episode back, they're like, ooh, no, we need boots on this guy. I'm more on the side of it being a fuck up.
Like someone got the wrong, maybe that was the initial character design for him, and then they gave him boots, and somebody got the wrong package when they were animating this.
But so this is Barefoot Captain Planet in this episode, which honestly makes him more of a, hippie kind of character too. His mullet is very 90s, but also, Superman got a mullet by 1994, so they're in the same league there. And if you just imagine this guy is Superman for the most of Captain Planet's appearance, it just is. This is making a Superman cartoon. The way he laughs off the drill on his chest, that's Superman.
That's really Superman.
And also like fighting a giant robot that regular jerks control, that's him too. And also being kind of less effective than you would hope, that's also Superman. I think it 100% was that Ted Turner quote at the beginning, like, well, I can't call him Superman. Somebody else owns that. So.
Also getting his power from the sun.
Yep, that too.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. They simply ripped off Superman, but Captain Planet explains himself to the kids.
Hey, Gridley is getting away! And he's letting all the oil spill into the ocean.
What do you want us to do, Captain Planet?
Your rings are temporarily useless while I'm here.
Why?
But I am your powers combined and magnified. For now, I'll handle Greedly and the spill. You can help those animals.
Right. Go Planet!
Now, the first order of business is to put all this oil back where it came from.
Oh man, I was thinking of that line when the kids were saying, "This is happening, and now this is happening." Who are you, the narrator?
You got to explain, like, this is in the same act too. It's like, you're not even recapping for a commercial, kids. Cap is there. He's like, thanks for explaining to me. And also he makes sure to let them know they're useless now too. So they're vulnerable when I feel like they just gave Captain Planet too many weaknesses,
Yeah.
But I guess narratively, if he's too strong, then you can't really, once he shows up, the story's over, right? But
yeah, he's your real like denouement style character. Like, oh well, now it's all over.
And they say "Go Planet" so many times. They're really pushing this catchphrase. And one thing that disappoints me in this, the Captain Planet doesn't do enough puns in here.
Yeah. He reminds me of like there's a bit of Spider-Man to him, isn't there? With how he quips it all the time. Like I don't think Superman quipped as much, did he?
Not as much.
Yeah.
No. I mean, sometimes by the 90s he had gotten a little more sense of humor, though. But even when he's not joking, he's good at sucking up oil.
Oh, jeez.
Captain Planet's doing it! He's sucking the oil back!
Go Planet!
peel it off. That should hold it. Now for Greedly. Oops, almost forgot. Mustn't litter.
Impossible! He cleaned up the entire oil slick!
We can fight better on land.
So Captain Planet plugs the pipe with a boulder, which is like, how long is that going to hold, Captain Planet?
Yeah. Also, wouldn't that crush the pipe into the ground and make it leak more? I think
Yeah.
we saw that you can't just put a cap on it with the BP oil spill.
You need to like solder that pipe shut or something.
It was a simpler time. They didn't know. But that's what was magical about Superman and also Captain Planet, that you just imagine like, oh, he'll just magically fix that, which that's why I like in that OKKO episode that's how I as a kid thought too. Well, can't you just like suck up all the smog and spit it in space? Like Captain Planet has to say out loud, I'm not real and can't actually do that. Like, but in this show, he should have had a joke when he's like, mustn't litter. Like, that's not really a joke. There's some good animation in here, too, when he kind of like tears it open like a tin can where the sidekick is sitting.
Yeah, I like that.
That's really good. And his drop into the trash can actually should kill John Ratzenberger's character.
He's some sort of rat man. He's impervious to whatever happened to him.
I would guess a garbage can wouldn't kill you. Throw a rat in a garbage can, that's like the Briar Patch.
That's his new home.
But unfortunately for Cap, Hoggish Greedly happens upon his kryptonite instantly, mostly because otherwise this episode would end at 14 minutes. So...
Come on, guys. That tickles.
The drill don't even scratch him!
But enough fun. There's trash to take out. And I know just the place for garbage like you. Now for you, Greedly.
I don't think so, hero. If I can't drill you, I'll waste you.
No,
with
kill
some
ya.
Toxic waste.
I like the idea of toxic waste just in this era where it seemed like everyone had access to it and
You
you
all
could just
get it.
have a puddle of it or a barrel of it.
It'd turn
or
you into a toxic Avenger
Yeah.
easily. Also, they set it up as his kryptonite. I would think a similar reaction would be to anybody getting sprayed with
Yeah,
toxic
I mean, I've
waste.
seen RoboCop.
Then that has to be scientifically accurate. I also, though, I like is like, if I can't drill you, like that sounds a little sexual.
I would say if I can't drill you, I'll kill you.
Which he is, again, trying to kill a man, like
Yeah.
directly, as far as he knows. Man, that delivery by Captain Planet there, too, of like, now time for Greedly.
Yeah, very hammy.
he's a cornball guy. Captain Planet also knows he's in a TV show. So, though it was okay. So when he got hit with his toxic waste, that's when it hit me again. Like, so many Captain Planet episodes are him getting like wiped out at like at the second commercial break. And it's just like, man, you're lame, Captain Planet.
Yeah, I mean,
this wouldn't happen to Superman.
I think it's what frustrated me about the show because the formula is the kids have these awesome powers. They screw up. They summon the guy they should have summoned in the first place. He screws up. And then there's like just too much ineptness in the show. It's very frustrating.
Against like these pig men that
Yeah.
they're facing that shouldn't be that hard. Like the first thing Captain Planet should do is rip the legs off of that and light it on fire.
Yeah.
Throw it into space.
Burn him alive.
It's like, this guy's breaking the law anyway, and you clearly can't put him in jail for attempted murder since you didn't. So kill him yourself, Cap. Like, but obviously you can't tell the eco-terrorist children that message. I do like the little bit there where Cap is in the ground and they try to pick him up, but he's too dense, like he's too incredibly heavy. They also do like to show in the design of Cap, they want colors that represent all of the characters' powers. So it's red like fire. His skin is white and blue like water.
I never
and
thought of
wind.
that. Yeah.
Hair is green like the earth, sort of. Honestly, his hair should be brown in that case. And the white of his logo on his chest and his belt buckle is his heart. So
Yeah.
that's that represents all the powers.
The green hair got me ready for my love of anime. So
Yeah, and
it
he's
opened my
shiny.
mind.
He sparkles like an anime boy as well. But yes, Cap is fucked.
Oh, the toxic waste draining my strength.
We must do something to help him.
Look, the global on his chest. It's glowing.
Quickly, bring some water.
Water? No problem. Oops, I forgot. I don't have my power. Then we must improvise.
So just water will help you if you're hit with toxic waste.
It'll wash it off, and I guess...
There's this thing laid in here where it's just like the sun will give him his power back. Like, we weren't told this.
Yes, no.
You're just making this shit up.
The solar power is more believable in later episodes. Here, it's just kind of out of left field.
Yeah.
And yeah, they also, as they're trying to move him, he's about to get stomped on, and they put a boulder there, which would definitely not stop that machine.
I thought were they going to kill Captain Planet and put him out of his misery?
Oh, no.
Crush him with his boulder.
There's no more time. But in OKKO, they also had the pattern of Cap gets fucked up and then he has to recover thanks to them. Like the Captain Planet always needs I'm popping my peas here. Captain Planet really needs a second wind in these shows. Yeah, so Linka and Guy put the water in her jacket and throw it on him, which it only needs to uncover the logo, his chest emblem, and to get it back in. Though that's actually the funniest bad animation in this episode, that Captain Planet is under a giant foot that is casting a very clear shadow that is drawn onto it. But then when they need to show that sunlight is giving him power again, they just impose a ray of light over that couldn't possibly be going under the foot.
It's all very confusing.
It's ridiculous.
Again, somebody who didn't think about the art side of things was writing this. It's like, well, wait a minute. He's about to be stepped on. Where's the light coming from?
But Cap, thanks to that impossible light, Captain Planet is back.
I feel like a brand new hero.
You are!
Yeah, and you're brand new heroes too, Planeteers. Thanks for your help. Now, if you'll excuse me.
Go Planet!
Ridley, where are you? He's gone.
No one gets in the way of Hawkers and Ridley. I will be back, Captain Planet.
It is good that Gridley was stopped.
Yeah, but I've got a feeling you'll see him again. And when you do, call me.
We will.
All right, what now, Captain Planet?
My work here is done, but yours is just beginning, Planeteers. And remember, the power is yours.
Why can't he always exist? Why is that?
Again, they're overwriting so much of the show that they didn't even bother thinking of like, well, why can't he just hang around with us forever?
Yeah.
Like, why is he only available temporarily? He's like, does he live on Hope Island too with Gaia? Is there a thing going on?
Does he not exist until he's summoned by them?
Yeah.
Does he just flit in and out of it?
I also like that with all of Captain Planet's powers and Mati's power, they can't find like a 700-pound pig man trying to escape.
Yeah, that seems difficult. It seems pretty easy to find that kind of guy. I do like the nice animation of Cap flying around the cockpit looking for Greedley.
Yeah.
Greedley, that was good. Also, there's a very like full of itself line of, I feel like a brand new hero. You are like you're a brand new hero for the 90s.
I can't wait to watch your further adventures in 64 episodes on TBS.
Yeah,
real funny.
It couldn't be more obvious him saying like, I bet we'll see him again. Also, there's a real like Kwame does like a front-facing testimonial about like, thank you, Cap, which is the show really liked doing that too. That's part of the earnestness of the show and the lack of stylization. The only time Wheeler uses his powers really correctly is when he uses it to like heat up water to wash a walrus. Meanwhile, Mati again, I said it wrong. He used his powers one other time, which was to comfort animals, which honestly is the best use of them. Like those animals are upset, make them more docile. That's why it's so easy for them to wash the oil off those guys, because they're like happy and stuff.
I could be friends with any bird with that ring.
That's the dream, isn't it?
For me, it is.
And yes, Wheeler also again plays the shitty American who wonders why he's even doing this.
But it doesn't seem fair. We didn't make the mess, so why don't we have to clean it up? We're not getting paid any money.
Because we care, my sweet imperialist dog. Besides, some rewards are greater than money. right?
Yeah, I guess. Whoa, come on, hey, that
He's licked by a walrus.
I got a thing that doesn't smell good.
No.
A wild walrus.
As much as Wheeler sucks, he has a point. Like, yeah, like make the whatever corporation sponsored Hoggish Creedly should be paying people to clean that up.
Yeah, it almost feels like they're scolding kids who are just like, fucking Exxon should clean this up, not us.
Why do I have to clean the highway? I didn't make the highway dirty. Just clean it.
Yeah, well, what are they going to do? Punish children or punish a company? Like that. Ask yourself which the government is going to be against there. I liked her calling him an imperialist dog.
My sweet imperialist dog.
She's got it's reciprocal.
I guess so. They got a real Sam and Diane thing going on.
But it's cute how she frees those birds there too. I did like that.
Yeah, birds are worth more than money. It's true.
And so after all of that, it's not truly over until we get our first Planeteer alert, though this doesn't have the little video of Planeteer alert, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah.
But it's more just Captain Planet asking you to continue watching the show and really to join his cult.
And to bug your parents.
I want you to join me and the Planeteers in saving our planet. You can fight oil spills and air pollution by encouraging your family not to waste gasoline and other fuels.
Turn off your lights in your house when you don't need them. If you can carpool, do it.
Better yet, if you're only going a short distance, walk or ride a bike.
It's healthier for you and our planet, so don't be a greedly. The power is yours.
I guess those are all common sense solutions to rampant corporate pollution.
I mean, look, it's doing something. You got to do something. But you're right. They're telling kids to pester their parents. And I definitely did, because Captain Planet told me, I said, could we drive less? Or what about air conditioning? It says it's okay if you turn it down a little bit. And I think my parents' response was, I want to be comfortable. That was basically their feelings.
I don't care what kind of world I'm leaving for you.
I mean, it's pretty much done for that. Yeah, they don't have to worry about it. Same like Joe Biden. He doesn't have to care. What's he give a shit? His kids are going to be running the camps. So
and those teeth he's buried with will last forever.
I love, friend of the show, Matt Crispin, had the great point of the reason libertarians go over to the alt-right is because they realize the only way to maintain personal property is through genocide at a certain point.
Pretty much, It eventually comes down to that, doesn't it?
That's what it will ultimately come down to. There is no way the amount of Ted Turner was super into addressing overpopulation. One of his more controversial statements was saying that he wished America would adopt the China's one kid policy. There were multiple episodes about overpopulation in this show too.
That was a real fear in the 90s. In fact, on King of the Hill, we talked about it recently. Hank Hill was talking about overpopulation.
Oh yeah.
How he thought Khan had different values because of overpopulation.
Which, I mean, we're more populated than ever now, and nobody really talks about it. We passed 7 billion like it was nothing. I mean, maybe I'm going to sound like a socialist, but we make enough things to feed more than enough people to do that, but only if you don't charge them for that.
I'm being the ultimate Planeteer by not having a child.
Yeah, no.
Think of my carbon footprint.
All those people who have 3 kids, we're buying them the right to have a kid and a half there. I mean, look, everyone's carbon footprint, you can't get rid of it. You exist in a society. I'm sorry.
We live in a society.
We live in a society.
It's true. I've heard that somewhere.
But there is no way. I mean, that's the gag of, so you said your communist thing on your iPad. Interesting. It's like, yeah, I'm a fish who breathes water. There's no way out of it. I'm trying to build a place where I don't have to be a fish.
It's a shitty gotcha, like, hey, vegetarian, what are your shoes made out of? Like, oh my God, no. My values.
By that logic,
yeah.
If you enjoy Tetris, it means you love socialism because it was a Soviet country that created it. So touche, Mr. Facts don't care about your feelings. Then we get the credits wrap that has been dug into my brain for 28 years.
Yeah.
I can't forget a single line of it. It's almost like this should be the opening of the show. Well, the opening's fantastic. It should not replace it, but it takes you into the next show very much. You're going to watch what's next because you cannot turn away from those that song in the credits.
So speaking of Deke, this has one of the clumsiest rhymes in a song. Both Deke productions. So gonna help us put asunder bad guys who like to loot and plunder. You really wanted that rhyme. You wanted it so hard. It reminds me of the Sailor Moon opening. She is the one on whom we can depend. What a tortured sentence that is. Like, oh, they want to make it work so bad. But every time I hear that, it's like, oh, it's bad. It's really bad.
It comes from, well, Nicholas Boxer takes credit for the lyrics to this rap. So, and man, they were so going hard on that Go Planet thing. Like the characters just in this episode say it, I'm serious 9 times.
They also come down on looting, which I was surprised by.
Yeah. They really wanted us to be saying Go Planet all the time. It is like it's a globalist plot. But it is, you're supposed to look beyond your borders and think about what's happening to the world here. Though I think too, if you look bigger on that, you look at how, I don't know, America has fucked up so many countries and then leaves those refugees to be denied entry into the country that destroyed their country. That's pretty shitty, right?
Yeah. We're all huge hypocrites here.
Yeah. But anyway, hey, Go Planet.
That was so much more innocent in 1990.
Yeah, this episode, this show is hard to watch just because it's boring.
It is so boring.
But I really love the earnestness of it. Like the cynical shows that weren't trying to save the world, like, you know, you might have been a better show, but you didn't have as happy a soul as Captain Planet had.
But yes, we hope you enjoyed this episode. I think we made the source material much more enjoyable with our jokes. I'm glad we did this recording last today because I'm all laughed out.
Yes, and definitely, listeners, if you can get clean, renewable solar power, you should do it. That's the final message I learned from every episode of Captain Planet.
They've got a lot of those solar panels in Berkeley, but I bet they're very expensive.
Yeah, very expensive.
Very expensive.
Well, I mean, where can we even put? We don't have like our own private property. We can't put them on the roof of our apartment.
Well, first, you need to afford private property, and then you can start saving the Earth.
See, there should have been a Kill All Landlords Captain Planet episode.
That'd be the new Captain Planet. Let's reboot him. Yeah.
You know, I meant to say it earlier too. This came out in 1990. Everybody talks about how things are so political now. Everything's so political. This is literal propaganda on television from a politically minded man. Like,
if this show came out today, the president would be tweeting about it.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I'm sure there were Republicans that hated this show because they knew it was talking about them. They were hoggish greedly.
Yeah.
Even if they couldn't directly say it. So I'm not saying they probably weren't mad at this show then, but now, yes, the president would never shut up about Captain Planet attacking
Be talking
him.
about its ratings, I bet.
Well, also, Cartoon Network wouldn't let this show happen. It'd be too controversial.
Yeah.
It'd be hard enough to do it. The only reason Captain Planet gets to exist now and like have on a recent Earth Day, they played a bunch of Planeteer clips during commercials on Cartoon Network just as like Happy Earth Day, Planeteer alert. But the only reason they do that is because it's already existed. The nostalgia is the entryway for that. But if they just created new cartoons that just had these earnest, direct messages about clean energy, which are still work really well today, even if they were talking about the 90s consumption. If they made those now, they would be accused of being too political, far too political.
We're very nostalgic for Hope.
Yes, yeah.
Back when there was
I miss that.
Yes, but we hope you had a good time enjoying.
Speaking of hope.
Yeah, speaking of hope, there will always be new What cartoons as long as the Earth's sun still shines and there's drinkable water on the planet. But we got about 5 more years, it sounds like. But thanks for joining us. And as for us, we are the Talking Simpsons Network. If you want to help the show and get a ton of awesome bonuses, just go to patreon.com/Talking Simpsons. And for the low price of $5 a month, you'll get every episode of this show 1 week at a time and ad-free. And the same goes for our sister show, Talking Simpsons. You'll also get all of our exclusive Patreon content at the $5 level, including exclusive miniseries like Talking Critic, Talking Futurama, and the currently unraveling Talking the Hill. And frankly, far too many podcasts to mention because we've been doing this for almost 2 whole years. So you missed out on a lot of content if you're not behind that paywall. We're all hiding out here. It's nice here. It's like Hope Island.
Yes, and we hope that you also want to hear our most premium podcast, What a Cartoon Movie. If you like me and Bob talking about an animated series for an entire episode, you can hear the same, but for a different animated feature film once a month, only for our $10 and up patrons. Our recent one in April was the Oscar award-winning Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, where we talk for 3 hours and 22 minutes about the marvelous film. And in May, we're going to do another great one. The polls are open right now as the time we're recording this, so we'll see what it ends up being. But whatever it is, you'll only be able to hear the full, certainly over 3 hours podcast at the $10 and up level at patreon.com/Talking Simpsons. Please please subscribe today to the Talking Simpsons Network.
So I've been one of your hosts, Bob Mackey. You can find me on Twitter as Bob Servo. My other podcast is Retronauts. It's a classic gaming podcast. Every Monday and occasionally on Friday, go to retronauts.com or look for Retronauts in your podcast machine. Find it, download it, subscribe to it, like it, and listen to it in that order. Henry, how about you?
Hey, I'm Henry Gilbert. If you'd like to follow me on Twitter, that's HENEREYG. You'll hear what I have to say, much like Captain Planet, on my Twitter account. And that includes when new things go live on the Patreon or on the free feeds or whenever there's brand new news in my life. HENEREYG.
Thanks for joining us, folks. We'll see you next time for the My Life as a Teenage Robot episodes, Sibling Tsunami, and Trade Show Showdown. We'll see you then.
Wind, water, heart, go planet!
By your powers combined, I am Captain Planet!
Captain Planet, he's our hero. Gonna take pollution down to zero. He's our powers magnified, and he's fighting on the planet side. Captain Planet, he's our hero. Gonna take pollution down to zero. Gonna help him put asunder bad guys who like to loot and plunder.
You'll pay for this, Captain Planet!
We're the Planeteers. You can be one too, 'cause saving our planet is the thing to do. Looting and polluting is not the way. Hear what Captain Planet has to say.
The power is yours!
Sometimes people hate or fear others who are different than they are. But that's wrong.
People of different races can get along.
As can people from different cultures, or those who practice different religions.
Don't judge somebody just because they look or act differently.
We must learn to accept and understand each other for what we are.
It's up to us to stamp out hatred. The power is yours!